where where are we now?
Yeah, so we were thinking about if we have a system of equations, does it have a solution? Is it unique or um, infinite or some finite count? Can we characterize um, uh, the nature of the solution? That's what, whether it's unique or infinite and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, can there be system of equations with exactly n number of solutions?
Right. So basically, we were analyzing the successive differences, and then we were trying to give formula for a sequence, and then we came up with this question that how many different formulas can we have for a given sequence, and how many different degrees, different polynomial degrees formula can we have for a given sequence. So these are some of the questions we were having, and then we saw that. So trying to come up with different formula. So coming up with different degree formulas for a given sequence is actually, we saw that it is equivalent to studying a system of linear equations, right? So from there we came to the system of linear equations, and we are now just studying the system of linear equations, and we will try, and with the insight that we get from here, we will go back and try to answer those questions there. Okay, so generally system of linear equations is have n unknowns instead of 2 or 3 unknowns, because the sequence there could have 6 terms, and if you have 6 terms, you'll have 6 equations, right? And depending on the degree, you will have the degree will determine the number of unknowns, right? So let us just take a general form of system of linear equations. I think you are able to see the choice of notation here. Of course, this is very convenient notation, and these are not mine. It is a very standard notation. I'm writing it like this: B2 and so on till a m1 x1 plus a m2 x2 a m n xn is equal to bn. So this is a general system of linear equations, right? So in general, first question, yeah. First of all, how do you solve this equation? Can we come up with an effective way of solving this equation? And what can you say about it? So just looking at the equation, looking at the number of, so these are the number of equations, and these are the number of unknowns. This is the number of unknowns. Then just looking at these counts, what can you say about the solution? How many solutions will it have? Can you have a system of linear equation with no solution? We saw examples last time of systems with having no solution. And yeah, so the nature of solution, and how can you characterize, if there are infinite solutions, how do you characterize all the solutions? These are some of the questions, right? So now how do we proceed? Now if you have just if you just have 2 equations and 2 unknowns, we use certain procedures to solve it and get the unknowns. So we are looking at, yes.
So last time, for system of 2 equations, you described how like if you multiply both sides of the given an equation, if you multiply both sides of the equation by the same number, it does not change. The rationalization for that using set theory.
Yes. Set theory is a very big thing. Set theory. So using that ideas from that. Yeah.
Yeah. The question was, will the solution space change?
Exactly. So yeah. let me just write that also. So I have 2 equations like this. So 2x plus 3y is equal to 7, and x plus 5y is equal to 12. Okay, so now Sunil was mentioning that the first step that you would do to solve this is multiply the second equation by 2, right? And you would get 2x plus 3y is equal to 7, and 2x plus 10y is equal to 24. So now this is one system, and this is another system. Okay, and we're looking at the solution space of system 1 and system 2. Okay, the question was, we'll call the solution space S1, and for this system we call it S2. Are S1 and S2 same? Was the question, yes, and we used, yeah, what you said, set theory, that kind of a reasoning to prove that the solution space is equal. Yes.
Can
So
similar reasoning be used in a equation of degree 2, of second degree? Like if it was x squared plus y, 2x squared plus 3y equal to 7, and x plus 5y squared equal to 12, suppose.
2x square plus 3y square is equal to 7, and
No, just 3y. Let's say we have only x squared. So, and 2x x plus 5y. Let's keep it the same.
oh, wow, what a equation! Huh? So you have one x has 2 and degree 2 and y has, okay, nice. Next.
So can we use the same logic here? So where I'm coming from is, so there it was essentially we were making a one-to-one onto mapping. If the solution space include irrational, can we make one-to-one onto mapping? I don't know. I'm confused. So the question.
Okay. Okay. So basically, what I was saying is, if you're doing a similar operation here, also say I multiply equation 2 by 2, right, and I get another system. Now, will the solution space of both the systems be same or not? Right. This is a question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think, or what do others think about this?
Yeah, it's a solution. Sure, I think solution space will not change as long as the degree of the equation remains same. For example, x plus 5y is 10, right?
Yes.
So you are multiplying by constant 2.
Yes.
There the degree, it's a linear equation only. Its a degree has not changed. Suppose you square the linear equation, x plus 5y whole square is equal to 100, then the degree will change and the solution space will also change.
We saw an example for that also, right? If you square, the example that we had taken was
but if we multiply both sides by x?
What if you multiply both sides by x? Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, the solution space will change definitely.
Wow. Wow. Right. So before that, let me just try to recall this. Yeah, one equation is x equal to, okay, x minus 3 is equal to 0, and x minus 3 the whole square. I'm just trying to recall the square example that I gave. Okay. So x equal to 3, and x square equal to 9. So this is one equation, another equation. Now, if you see, by squaring, the solution space has changed. So here the solution space has just x equal to 3. But here the solution space is x equal to 3 and minus 3. Right? So squaring definitely is creating a problem, clearly. Okay. So now we will just take up two things. So first, we are multiplying by a number. Okay, we are just multiplying this by a number 2. What will happen? Then if you multiply one of the equations with an unknown x, y, then what will happen? We'll just consider both of this step by step. Okay, Akka, so for the previous case, right? So we'll take this 2x plus 3y equal to 7. So these two equations we'll take, these two systems. Are you convinced that S1 and S2 are equal?
Yeah.
Why?
We saw that last time, right? So the set of so the solution is the set of all ordered pairs of x, y, which match both these, where the x value and y value will cause the equation to be true, right? So we were able to show the equivalence of 2x plus 10y equal to 24 and x plus 5y equal to 12.
Right.
Since
Right.
those are equivalent, the intersection would be equivalent.
Right.
And
okay.
even if you try to plot the graph of the two linear equations, you get the solution same.
Right.
Even if you try to plot it in xy plane.
Right. Right. So here, regarding this point of plotting the graph, right? So one point is, so here these equations, 2x plus 3 is equal to 7, x plus 5 is equal to 12. These equations have an independent existence. So irrespective of we creating geometry, coordinate geometry, these equations have an independent existence, right? And now, so we will call this then number world, where so if I have x plus 5 is equal to 8, then x plus 5 is equal to 8 means x has to be 3, right? So this is, we'll just call it a number world. And now what we have done is we have created, we are seeing geometry, and in geometry we are trying to create a link between, so we have somehow created a link between numbers and geometry, okay, and algebra and geometry, we have got coordinate geometry, and with that we are able to plot things in the graphs, right? So now, as I was saying, this number world has an independent existence, and if you're trying to explain some statement in the number world using this geometry world, right, then it is very important that we first understand this link, the link between both of this, to see if they are firm and sound. What is the nature of that link? Yeah, so once that link between this number world and geometry world is strongly formed, then we can go from here to here and here to here, right? But there's one curious thing in the geometry world is, our intuition says that two lines can intersect at only one point, right? Two circles can intersect at most 2 points. So our intuition is giving some suggestions here in this geometry world, right? So yeah, so you're trying to make this link. Will it always work here? Why? What's the nature of link? Is something which we need to keep in mind regarding this. Okay. So yeah. So Akai, you said this, that is so S1 and S2 is equal in the first case, right? Sunil, now you are saying that for the second two systems, right? You're saying that if I multiply by 2, the solution space is still the same, right? Can you give me a reason for that?
I thought since it's a linear equation, so I mean, if you multiply or divide whatever.
So I'm thinking here, we cannot clearly say that S1 and S2 are same. My reasoning is, because one of the equations has quadratic, the solution space is not just integers. It could have irrational numbers where it's not discrete. So I feel like, I might be wrong, but I feel like one-to-one onto mapping cannot be done. So we can't justify this.
Okay, yeah. So this is, you're talking about one-to-one and onto mappings.
Okay.
Yeah, this is totally. Okay. One-to-one onto mappings, right? Yeah, that is, so one-to-one onto mappings, if you see it is as a concept, that is exactly what we did. Okay, so you express it as one-to-one onto mappings, right? So you are saying that it could have irrational solutions, and so because of that, it is not clear if the same argument will go through here also. Is what
Yeah,
you're saying,
because
right?
it's not discrete values, no. So then how to say that?
So if you have rational values in the solution space, it's okay.
Rational numbers.
Because in the first system, you could have rational solutions, right? If
Yeah.
x is equal to, right? Yeah, rational solutions are possible. So rational solutions, if they are there, it's okay for you.
Yes, they're countably Infinite. Count would be infinite.
No. See, these words, you should not use words here. You should tell me what those words mean and then use the words. No. Okay. So, I mean, it is an excellent question. I mean, this is because if the solution space is always a finite set, then whatever we have said makes sense, right?
Mm.
But then there's a
Mm.
possibility that it can become an infinite set, right? So
Yeah.
when you have, I mean, you could have infinite number of solutions. So whenever there is such a possibility, then we should be very careful about our arguments.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Okay, so now, okay, so you're saying that it is countable. So what I can ask? So what I can ask? Okay, so now what you do is uh, the argument that we use for the first pair of for this linear equations, right? Okay, use the same arguments for this uh, second pair and tell me where problem could arise because of irrational roots. Okay, so take each step. So we have some we have an argument, right?
Mm.
So in that argument, you point out where trouble could arise.
Okay.
So
First
then
of
we'll
all,
discuss.
I have a doubt whether the second case, whether it's a system of linear equation.
No.
I have a doubt.
It is not. It is not a system of by the definition. Linear system of linear equations have just degree 1. So it is not a system of linear equations. It's just a system of equations.
System of equations. Yeah,
Equations.
okay.
So
Because the
now,
first equation 2x square will, when you plot in the graph, it will give a parabola. It will not give a straight line, right?
True.
Okay, fine.
True. So Sunil,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll work on. Yeah.
Yeah. No. This is a. I mean, this is a very. It is a wonderful. But the question, I mean, the objection that is coming so far is from the terminology that is there in your mind. So you just dig a little deeper and then try to find out where the problem is.
Yeah.
Then we'll discuss.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do it right away. Okay, and Sunil, for the first pair, for the first pair, it is clear that S1 and S2 are equal, right? The solution space is equal, right? For these two.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Yeah, so why is that?
Hardest.
Why is that? So sometimes a system of system of linear equations can have no solutions, right? Shankar, can you give an example of a system of linear equations having no solution?
System of linear equations that has no solution.
Have with no solution.
Okay, x plus 1 is equal to linear equation, right? So,
System of,
okay.
yeah. You can have more than one unknowns.
Okay, fine. So x plus y equal to 3 and 2x plus 2y is equal to 6.
Nice. So let us see this.
No, I think no. That will give us infinitely many solutions.
This will give us infinitely many solutions, right?
Just
More
change
solutions.
the constant. 2x plus 2y is equal to, let's say, 7. So that will give.
Yeah, 7.
Right. Yes. So we can have a system of linear equations having no solutions also, and we can have a system having infinite solutions also. Both the possibilities are there. Right. Can you have a system of linear equations with two unknowns that has exactly two solutions?
Seems to be impossible, but not able to justify it.
So still, the solution space S1 and S2, could you see why they're equal in the first case?
Yeah, I was able to work it out. So this 1-to-1 onto is something I got in. The original logic was if x1, y1 is a solution to S1, will it always be a solution to S2? And if x2, y2 is a solution to S2, will it always be a solution to S1? So with that logic, it's clear. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So will it apply to now? Will it apply to the second pair also?
Yeah.
Right. So here, so basically, now there are two things here. Taking the S1, the solution space S1 as a single whole, okay, that is slightly different. But then taking elements of S1 and showing that each element of S1 lies in S2 and each element of S2 lies in S1 is little, if you see, yeah, first of all, if you take an infinite set, what do you mean by taking the infinite set as a whole, as a unit? All these questions will come. So for now, we are not going into that. All we are saying is any solution for the first system will be a solution for the second system, and any solution for second system will be a solution for first system.
Yeah.
That's all we are saying. Okay. So now, so now Sunil gave an excellent question, right? Instead of multiplying by 2, if I multiply by x, you know, wow, I have not thought about this before. So yeah. So what do you think will happen there?
Multiplying by x, right?
So instead of 2, I multiply by x. So now are the systems equivalent systems or no? X square plus 5xy is equal to 10x. If equivalent, why? If not equivalent, why not? What can you say about the solution space? Are some of the questions. Strong no from Sunil that no, this cannot be equal. So one thing in this kind of, for example, in the system of linear equations, yeah. So now we are going to see how we can actually characterize this solution. But when the degree is more than 1, and we have a system with the degree more than 1, in that case, first of all, how do you find the solutions itself is a question, right? How do you find a solution? Of course, even for the linear system, as of now, we are equipped with some tools at least to find it. But here, in the second case with degree more than 1, we do not even know how to find the solutions, right? So in that case, can we talk about the notion of the set of all solutions? What does it mean? But at least what we can talk about is, if I can find a solution for S1, then will it be there in S2 or not?
Yeah, the solution space could be empty, but
could be empty, and no, it could be empty, and or it could be infinite, and we do not know how to get the elements. No known method exists to find the elements also. This also could be possible, right? But yeah, but here we are just talking it in this level. So are you getting the distinction that I'm trying to make?
Yeah.
Actually analyze this, the second pair of systems. There's a very interesting thing happening about the solution space.
Yes, Shiv, I think both are different, right, Shiv? X plus 5y is equal to 10 is a different solution space, and x square plus 5xy is equal to 10x. If you take it individually,
very nice approach, very nice. Okay, we will just take it individually. Okay, so we will take very nice. This is what George Bolia says: if you find a difficult problem, then find a simpler problem that you can solve. So x plus, just take these two equations: x plus 5y is equal to 10, and x square plus 5xy is equal to 10x. Okay, right. So now what can I say about the solution space of, we'll call this as S1 and S2. Yep. Now you're saying that they are different, is it?
According to me, it is same.
According to you, which is in this
S1 and S2 are same. Yeah.
S1, yeah. Okay, we'll just keep it as okay. This is
if you consider a simple example, let's say x is equal to 3.
Okay.
If you consider x is equal to 3, if you multiply both the sides by x, so you have two solutions: x is 0 and x is 3.
Right.
So the solution space has changed actually. Now from x is equal to 3, there is only one solution. Now it is x is equal to 0 or x is equal to 3.
Correct. So you're given an example where multiplying by x is changing the solution space, right?
Yeah.
But will that mean that for every equation that will happen? Not necessarily, right? Okay, so but okay, Akka feels that the solution space is same for both, right? So what
I
is
didn't
the
consider 0. Yeah,
okay, great. So now okay, yeah, you got the main point. So yeah, so now with that observation, what can you say about S1 and S2? So last session I gave a very powerful tool to analyze such questions. A very powerful tool.
S2 is S1 plus including 0. 0 gets added on. Other than that, they're equivalent.
Okay. So you are saying that S2 is S1 and with some extra elements.
Yeah,
So what are those elements?
only 0.
So we are talking about X comma Y, right? Solutions. So can you characterize it a little more completely?
Okay. 0 comma y for any value of y.
0 comma any value, any r, where r is any number.
Yeah.
So okay, great.
Now this is not 1, but yeah.
There's a small catch here. Okay, are you sure that none of the elements of this set falls on S1?
No, it's there actually.
It is there.
No, it is there.
What is there? What part of the set is there here in S1?
That zero part is there definitely.
0 comma what is there in S1?
0 comma 2.
So 0 comma 2 is already there in S1.
Yeah, 0 comma 2 is there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So now, Sunil, are you able to see how Akka got this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So can you tell?
Yeah, if you, for first x plus 5y is equal to 10 for the first solution, in the first equation.
So last time, right, we basically used the same technique to show that these two systems are equivalent. In question 1, systems are equivalent. We use that same tool, but I'll give that hint here again. So now take suppose x naught comma y naught is a solution in for S1. Okay, suppose we have a solution x naught comma y naught falling in S1. Now the question is, will x naught comma y naught fall in S2 also? The question is, will x naught comma y naught fall in S2 also? So Akka, then can you go back to the system in question 2 and tell about S1 and S2? I think you'll be able to say, right? You got it right for this? Yeah.
They're not the same. That is clear.
They are not the same.
S1 is a subset of S2.
Very nice. Excellent. Okay. Right. So, okay. So now that you are able to see this, okay. So now at least we have a tool of determining if two systems are equivalent or not, right? Yeah, a very simple one, but it is proving very useful here.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, okay, consider this. We have something like x plus 2y is equal to 5 and x minus 2y is equal to 7, right? Last time we were seeing that if I add both of them, I get 2x is equal to 12, right? So now, what are we doing here? So I have a system here. I have a system of x plus 2y is equal to 5 and x minus 2y is equal to 7 is one system. And now I have got another equation as 2x equal to 12, right? Now in this method, if we continue this method, we'll continue this method to find the value of x and y, right?
Yeah.
Right. So now what is happening here? What can you say about this system and this system? Yeah. So are you able to see it in this light? What we are doing? That is a question. Yes, so Sunil, you can, Shankar, you can try this one for this question 3. For this very, very wonderful variant that you brought in today. X plus 5y is 10, x square plus 5xy is equal to 10x. Right. So what can you say about S2 and S1? So the hint that I have given is let x naught comma y naught be some solution in S1. Now the question is, will x naught comma y naught fall in S2 also? Yeah, so this, Aka's question is this: x plus 2y is equal to 5, x minus 2y is equal to 7. So this is something which we have been doing for a long time, but we'll see how by trying to understand what is happening here, we will come up with a efficient tool to solve any system. So that is where we are heading to. We have started the first study of equivalent systems. Yes.
The solution space of 2x equal to 12 is a subset of the solution space of x plus 2y equal to 5 and x minus 2y equal to 7. It's a subset of both. So what we are trying to do.
Wait. Solution space of 2x equal to 12 is a subset of solution space of this pair of equations, is it?
No. Solution space of equation 1 and solution space of equation 2. So this is a subset of both. Essentially, we're trying to find the intersection.
Okay, so I'll just call this a system S1. System S1.
But each equation has its own space, no? So.
Okay, fine. So you're talking about each equation. Okay, equation 1 and equation 2.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, now I get it. Equation 1 and equation 2. Okay, so now you're saying that, and we'll call this as equation 3.
Yeah.
So solution space of equation 3 is?
Subset of solution space of equation 1 and also subset of solution space of equation 2.
Are you sure? Oh, okay.
Because here equation 3 has only one variable, no? But E1 and E2 are two variables. So
now
you certainly can't have a subset of this equation for these two equations.
So
it's not
Sunil,
possible.
Can you give an element in S3 which does not lie in S1? Can you give an element in S3 that does not lie in S1?
S3 has only one solution. It's unique. It has a unique solution.
Okay, right. So here, since y is not there, y can take any value. So basically, 6, 4 can be said to be a solution of E3. So we are just looking at x, y, right? So 6, 4, 6, 5, 6, 7, 6, anything is a solution for E3. Is how we are seeing. This is how we are seeing it.
Yes.
So now, for example, will 6, 4 lie in S1, right? But something after that you told something. Intersection you told, there is some.
Solving is equivalent to finding intersection of solution space of equation 1 and solution space of equation 2. This is.
Yeah. So what have you got so far? Yeah, you can take your time. Just like
See, the thing is, the solution set for E1. Okay. If you consider only that as one equation, okay, you have infinitely many solutions. Okay. Consider E2 as one separate equation. In that case, also you will have infinitely many solutions. But when you combine E1 and E2, there are certain solutions which intersect. This is what Gauri ma'am is trying to say from the beginning. And those intercepting points or intercepting thing is actually the real solution set for the pair of linear equations.
Correct.
Pair of these given linear equations.
Correct. So now my question is, if you take this equation 3, E3, 2x equal to 12, that is basically I'm adding E1 and E2 and getting another equation. So what can you say about the solution set of the solution space of E3, that is S3, and the other two solution spaces? This is what I'm asking. So yes, as you said, the solution set of the system of E1 and E2 is exactly the intersection of solution set of E1 and solution set of E2. Yes, I agree. That is the intersection of the intersection is the solution set of solution space of the system. True.
So I think if you consider E1 and E2 as the solution set as S1, if you combine both, if you combine both, you say that S1, right? and then S1, and then for E3 it is S3, right? Then then we can say that S1 in intersection S3 is null set.
So okay, so just
S1,
so now you if you take some two equations, right, E1 and E2, and I get another equation E1 plus E2. Like, so one example is x plus 2y is equal to 5, x minus 2y is equal to 7, and this. So you're saying that the solution space of this system, we'll call it
S3,
S1,
right.
and this as S3. So you're saying that it will be always null set?
no, S1 will be
yeah. So
subset of,
yeah, please.
so in this case, it will be a subset of S1 will be subset of S3 in the example that we took.
In this case, S1 is subset of S3.
S1 is a subset.
Okay.
Yeah, got it.
S1 is the solution space of the entire system, right? Not of the individual equation.
Yeah.
Right. So now, okay, so now we have made some observations. So now with these observations, can you justify the method of finding the unknowns using this method? So we started x plus 2y is equal to 5, x minus 2y is equal to 7. I add them up, I get 2x equal to 12, then I get x equal to 6, and then I substitute it back in one of the equations and I get it right. Yeah, so can you justify how this method is actually giving the solution? Are you able to see what is happening? That is the question. So we have made some observations.
Basically, the adding is done just to eliminate a variable. Okay. So we can actually solve this system of linear equations without adding also. We can plot, if you plot the graph, you will get the solution straightforward. So it's not necessary that only if you add, you will get x equal to 6. Not necessary. Even if you plot them in a Cartesian coordinate system, you will get x equal to 6, and y is equal to, probably we can say half, not minus half. Right. That is the solution for this particular system of linear equation. Right, so it's not necessary that you need to, that adding is done just to eliminate a variable, so that you are comfortable in solving a linear equation in one variable rather than linear equation in two variables.
Okay, so now suppose we have an equation like 3 by 5x plus 2 by 7y is equal to 15 and 9x minus 31y is equal to 100, something like that, right? So now suppose if you have to solve this equation, if you have to find the solution, right? How do you go about, Shankar?
Okay, for this that works. I mean, for example, you need to multiply and you need to
right.
For these kind of equations, it is possible. You need to do some kind of addition or multiplication.
Manipulations, right?
So at the same time, you need to be careful that you are not changing the solution space.
Exactly. So now actually what we are trying to do is what we are doing for this system of this is two unknowns, right? We are trying to
no matter. Yeah, you continue.
Yeah. So we are trying to understand what we are doing here, and we are trying to build up a tool with which we can solve any number of equations, any number of unknowns in an efficient manner. So this is our target for now. So that is why we are introspecting on these methods. So to get a better idea to attack the general case. So my question is, so if the first step, for example, in this case, we can just add these two to eliminate y, right? So when we are doing all these things, first of all, how do we understand this sequence of steps? Why does it work? Yeah, that is what we are now trying to see.
So what I found is for any system of equations, the system of two equations, if you add E1 and E2, that will give a new equation, and the solution space of the original system will be subset. Okay.
Of this, very nice.
Okay, in the general case that holds, but we want to do it in such a way as to characterize one of the variables. So, which is why we do the manipulation to so that when we subtract, one of the variables goes away and we can characterize one. Then substituting it back is a straightforward mechanism to characterize the other variable. So find the subset of, so we know that S1 is a subset of S3, but that subset will be by characterizing the other variable, which is what we do by substituting back.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand the last thing that you said.
So like when we get 2x equal to 12,
Okay, let us
x
take,
equal to 6.
yes, let us take this example. Very nice, very nice. So we have x equal to, and you substitute it here in this equation. Okay, yeah. So what does this mean, and how can we justify this step? Yeah, that is the question. And what is your answer?
Since S3 is a subset of S1, in all the ordered pairs XY in S3, X will be 6.
Excellent.
So now we have to find for what one Y or multiple Ys, whatever, this will hold.
Very nice, very nice. Beautiful.
That comes up. So we substitute and
right. Nice. Right. So we have this method, right? Sunil, any comments on this?
No, Shiva, what Gauri ma'am told, I understood. Yeah, it's correct actually.
Okay, so were you able to see in this, for this question 3, the system, right? You have S1 and S2. What can you say about S1 and S2? Were you able to get that?
Sure, just because the S2, second equation is just a multiple of X. So X0, Y1 will definitely fall in S2 also.
Excellent, right? So X0, so any element in S1 will belong to S2.
Yeah.
Right, so basically, yeah, S1 is okay. Then will any element of S2 belong to S1? Okay. So okay. Okay. So before that, now with this? So for this question, the answer is yes. Will X0, Y0 fall in S2? The answer is yes, right? Now, can you say that S1 is equal to S2 with this?
No, because then we have to justify if every element of S2 also lie in S1.
Right. Can you give me an example of two sets, S1 and S2, where every element of S1 belongs? So the symbol means belongs to. Okay. Every element of S1 belongs to S2, but S1 is not equal to S2. Can you give some two finite sets? Is it possible for such a pair to happen, for such a thing to happen? Okay, Akka, this question is for you. Okay, so fine. So now you give a very nice explanation for this method. So suppose I have E1 and E2. Okay, and then E1 plus E2, you are able to compare the solution space of this and this. Very nice. Now I have a question. What I have E1 and E2. What if I replace E2 by E1 plus E2? I'll get E1 and E1 plus E2. Right, now if I compare the solution space of this and this, what can we say? So instead of taking that E1 plus E2 as a separate thing, I'm just bringing it as a part of the system, but I have replaced E2.
Shiv, for your question, I mean, simple example will, I think, do x is equal to 3 and x square is equal to 3x.
Okay, nice. Okay, yeah. Okay. So now we also need to show that now to prove that S1 is equal to S2, what should we do further? What further should we do?
So every element of S2 is also in S1, is also present in S1.
That also, yes. Right. Okay, so you gave a very nice example, x square is equal to 3 and this, right? Can you give me two finite sets? Two finite sets, S1 and S2 with this property. So here, okay, x equal to 3 is a finite set. Yeah, fine. But that's a finite set is. Right. Okay, yeah. So now, what do you think? Will every element of S2 belong to S1?
No, sure. Every
element from S2 won't belong to S1.
S1 is a subset of S2.
Why are you saying that every element of S2 won't belong to S1? Why?
Pardon?
No. Why are you saying that every element of S2 won't belong to S1? So what I'm asking is, so why won't every element of S2 belong to S1? Can you give an example of a element that belongs to S2 but not to S1? In this case.
In this case, x plus 5y is equal to 10.
Yes. Sunil, isn't it appearing that in this, for question 3, every element of S2 also will belong to S1? It's actually giving an appearance, no? Don't you think?
Yes. Yeah.